Hello, friends. Welcome once again to the Perfect Bound Podcast. This is a podcast all about anything and everything comic books and comics related, brought to you by the Panel Jumper and Comics Dungeon. My name is Ben. With me, as always, is Nicole Lamb.
Hello.
Hello. Chris Casso.
Hello.
And Cole Hornaday.
For me!
That was a weird one. Oh, great. You can read my dreams, too?
Yes.
One of my favorite episodes of the Venture Brothers.
Indeed.
How's everybody doing tonight?
All right. It's I'm feeling a little muggy. Is it? Are you guys feeling a little muggy? Do we need to talk about have our obligatory weather conversation?
Yeah. We all survived Smokeageddon.
Yes, we did. Man.
Yeah. It's a new season here in the Northwest.
Ben had the best picture. Somehow he managed to get a double exposure of the sun.
You got Tatooine.
Yeah.
And his comment was like, what was it?
Go to Tatooine, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
And all of our responses were like, that is amazing. How did you get that picture?
It was like double pane glass.
Oh, okay.
I noticed as I was standing there, like looking out at the sun, that it had this double reflection. It wasn't exactly Tatooine because the reflection was smaller than the original one. So,
yeah, but we all got it, and it,
But yeah, and then
not a lot of coaching.
If you get a well, actually, then you just need to turn comments off.
and
wait, you can do that?
It was at my lady friend's apartment, and she's seeing me like trying to take the picture of the sun through the window or through the glass, and she says, "You can open the door." And I'm like, no, this is what I want. So yeah, but now there's no longer a lot of smoke in the Northwest. I think things are still on fire, but it's just not coming over this way.
Right.
Speaking of what's happening here and now, what's going on at the Comics Dungeon these days?
Well, we just had our third or fourth Funko Pop Swap, and we always have those first Sundays. Our next one coming up will be October 7th. And Cole asked me off mic, what is a Pop Swap?
Yeah.
It's where you come into one location, like Comics Dungeon. You bring the pops that you want to trade, and other people will do the same, and then you can trade with other people. It's kind of like a meet and greet, know your community. And
now, is this one of those things where you gotta chase the critters around with an app on your phone?
No, you just come to Comics Dungeon with pops.
Okay.
But you'll get 20% off on the pops that we have in the store as well. So if there's anything that you want to pick up as well, you can do that here.
Cool.
And then we'll have our general book club. The next one up is September 21st. It's from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. and we'll be reading Spinning by Tilly Walden.
And we also just had our charity fundraiser for C4C3 over at Kate's Pub, just a couple doors down, and we raised about $2,300.
Nice.
Excellent. So that was really awesome. We had a lot of donations from local artists, and some publishers like Valiant gave us some rare comics. So we're able to get a whole bunch of comics in for some educators soon.
Sadly, Ben and I couldn't attend because I believe that was the night we went and saw Kirby Crackle.
Yes, and if it wasn't, let's just pretend it was.
Okay, all right. I think it was.
Yeah, we saw a frequent Panel Jumper Live guest, Kyle Stevens, a.k.a. Kirby Crackle, did a album release show at the Triple Door, and a bunch of us, a bunch of the Panel Jumpers went.
And the album title is really cool, and it escapes me right now.
Urban Hearts. Oh, I wrote it down. I'm sorry, Kyle. I can't remember the.
I'm going to
name
look it up, and we're going to roll on, and I'm going to look it up, and I will
just
interrupt.
shout it at the top of your
because
lungs.
Nicole, that's what I'm good for.
Exactly.
I got it.
We all know how this works now.
Right?
Suburban Hearts of Vigilante Dreams.
Excellent. Yeah,
is the
cool
latest
title.
Kirby Crackle album, and it was at the Triple Door, which is a fantastic venue here in downtown Seattle if you have not been. And he had a different guitar for every song he sang, almost. But he didn't. It was one of those things where it's like musical chairs with the guitars. Like, which guitar is he going to pick up now to play this song with? And there was one guitar that never got played, and I feel really bad.
On it?
It was a white guitar.
Oh, okay.
And
Because we were all looking at the hippo one, going, "Is he going to play the?"
Oh yeah,
one?
it had the hippo. It was a white, and it had like a purple hippo on it.
I think he's just, even though he was playing new music, I think he's one of those artists that just walks on stage and doesn't know what he's going to play until the mood hits him. He has that much of a repertoire.
A repertoire.
All right, so Marvel solicitations for November 2018 include solicitation for Infinity Wars #5, the cover of which shows Loki with a group of superheroes and villains that they're calling the Cosmic Avengers. It includes, who does it include? It includes Ant-Man, Hulk, Emma Frost, Ms. Marvel, and Kang the Conqueror.
Except that's not the Hulk, isn't that Skaar, his son?
Well, this article that I'm reading says it's the Hulk.
Looks hulky.
It's Hulkish.
I think it's Skaar.
Cosmic Avengers, doesn't this just muddy the waters? It does for me. Who are the Cosmic Avengers?
They've done them a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, they said the Guardians were the Cosmic Avengers at one point. This is just, it's like, so far, Infinity Countdown was a event that led up to an event, which is Infinity War. And Infinity War is probably going to end up leading to another event called the Cosmic Avenger Infinity War or something. So at this point, I'm just like, whatever. It's more Avengers.
It doesn't seem like it's anything with staying power, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was only for this event and then they never talked about it again.
Yeah. See, Miss Marvel's on there too.
Yeah.
That's like the only interesting part for me.
And Skaar.
That's Hulk.
I'm pretty sure it's just Hulk.
It's
He looks
very
all
Hulk.
scarred, though.
That's
But
just,
that's just
Deodato's
Deodato.
art.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. Never mind.
You know,
All right.
Scar has like long hair.
He has long hair.
He's got like a bowl cut.
What picture? Oh, Ben, can you flip your laptop? around?
No, I can't. But we're debating the merits of Hulk's haircut, so I think it's time to move on.
No, I'm looking it up on my phone
And,
because I'm going to put an end to this.
All right. Dark Horse has announced that they have new adaptations coming from Neil Gaiman short stories. It's called The Problem of Susan and Other Stories, and that will include The Problem of Susan, October in the Chair, Locks, and The Day the Saucers Came. And I have not read a lot of Neil Gaiman fiction. And is anybody familiar with these short stories?
Yeah, I think most of them are from his latest collection called Trigger Warning. And if I remember correctly, The Day the Saucers Came is kind of a non-fiction-y piece that's really sweet and kind of with jagged teeth about, I think it's like a missive to somebody. Like, I was trying to get this information to you, but you were too busy doing your own thing when all these amazing and miraculous things happened, like the day the saucers came, and you were too busy, working your desk job. He has this wonderful way of making the of juxtaposing the pedestrian with the fantastical. One of my favorite pieces from that collection is the piece he wrote that was his eulogy to Ray Bradbury, called "The Man Who Forgot Ray Bradbury," which I've read publicly on numerous occasions and have trouble getting through it without choking up, because it's such a beautiful piece.
You saw that Paul Chadwick's son attached to this one?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
It says that they're going to be adapted from the Gaiman prose, so I don't think Neil Gaiman is going to be actually writing the adaptation himself. It just says it'll feature work by creators P. Craig Russell, Scott Hampton, Paul Chadwick, and Laverne Kidsnierski.
It's like 8 out of every 10 Neil Gaiman projects are exactly that. Other people adapting him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess, it's fine. He plotted it.
If he ever stops writing and they've adapted everything, it'll then just be like Neil Gaiman eats a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
The
they'll just
story
keep
of
writing.
Neil
They'll just
and
keep
the
adapting
sandwich.
something of Neil Gaiman, even if it's just his mundane life.
They will,
at that point.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
Amanda Palmer will write a song about it.
That's right. Absolutely. The cycle will continue.
Yeah. All right. So look for that coming in November. The higher ups at the DCEU are thinking about putting Supergirl into their cinematic universe. And it's been 30 years since we've seen a Supergirl movie.
Hopefully it's better than the original one.
Oh, yes.
Well, so are we? What do we want? We want it better than the Supergirl movie from like 1985,
Right.
4 or 5, but not so much Zack Snyder Murderverse Supergirl.
no, we don't want that Supergirl.
There's a happy medium somewhere in
Well,
there.
Yeah.
do you think would it be best to? Do you think it would be helpful to have it be influenced by the TV series?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't have much invested in that, but it does have a pretty pretty large fan base, so that makes sense. You could get some money out of that, but it also is generally fairly positive of a production, and features some better representation in it as well. So it'd be pretty good if they just kind of connected to that.
The problem is DC doesn't want to connect to anything, so it's just getting very muddled. So they could do anything, you know. If they were smart, they'd probably do some sort of connection.
Yeah, the first draft was being written by Oren Uziel, and most recently he wrote the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog live-action film, which I didn't realize was going to be a thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yes, it does. Sounds like a creepypasta or something.
Yeah.
I followed the link to that, and Jim Carrey is angling to play the main villain in the... It's a live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
He's going to method act that, too.
Oh, my God,
goodness.
But it's going to be a CGI Sonic. Uziel also wrote the Cloverfield Paradox, which was on Netflix, and 22 Jump Street, which was his first feature-length film, which was this adaptation of another 80s property, 21 Jump Street.
Sorry, now I'm just thinking of Jim Carrey playing Dr. Robotnik and kidnapping animals. And this is great and horrible at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
I was wrong. It's not Scar.
There you go.
You know me, I'm tenacious like a Gila monster. I gotta get to the facts. I gotta gnaw my stubby fangs all the way to the bone, to the nerve.
And
to get
don't
the
you
truth.
release like some sort of nerve agent? That,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When are you doing?
My stubby fangs.
Okay,
I said
yes.
that. Weren't you listening?
You didn't talk about the venom at all.
No. Well, okay.
Anyway, look for a Supergirl movie
Eventually.
eventually. I'm guessing since they're just like a first draft, we'll probably won't see it till like 2020 or something, because there's no release date for it at all. And Uncanny X-Men is returning as a weekly. Now, this caught my attention because I think certain people here at the table just want the X-Men to go away for a couple years.
Yes.
Also, weeklies to go away, please.
Yes.
Yeah? What's so bad about weeklies? Does it not draw
They're
people into
every
the store?
week.
Well, I mean,
bad
I
about
get
them.
that part, but...
Well, it blows your monthly wad for the month. I mean, if you have to buy 4 of one title for the month, that's 3 other titles that you're not trying.
Right.
And for a retailer, it's a nightmare to try and figure out how many to order ahead of time, because by the time I have to order numbers 6, 7, and 8, I still haven't seen number 1, so I can't look at trends.
Yeah.
So I either overorder or I underorder.
And
There's
if
no
you're-
winning.
If you're a subscriber, if you're a box subscriber, and I had this experience back in the day when they had Marvel Presents, which was a weekly comic book that ran weekly for years. And if it's not a book you're excited about, because we all have those books, if we have a subscription, we all have those books that kind of like sift down to the bottom. Well, you've got like 26 books that you're not excited about reading as
Yeah.
opposed to one.
Yep.
And I eventually had to give up on that book, and and every once in a while I'm like, dare I eat a peach? Dare I read X-Men again? And that just turned me right off. I'm like, no, because if the book doesn't work for me, I will have several months worth of weekly books before I've decided that I don't want to read it.
Marvel says it's going to happen for 10 weeks as a weekly, and then after that, they haven't said.
Right. I think it's going monthly after that.
Monthly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't help either that it could just be my burnout with Marvel or superheroes, but like when you look at the artwork that they've shown you, it's the most generic looking thing. And we have images of the number 1 cover available for order now. And one of our coworkers, Leanne, looked at it, and I was just like, "Oh yeah," and you can barely tell that's Bishop. She's like, "That was Bishop," So it's like you can't tell some of the characters because they just look too basic.
Right.
And
They've also recostumed some people
so many
too,
times.
which is
and
makes it odd.
they literally whitewashed somebody. They turned Psylocke, who is a complicated character because she was a British lady
She was a British
who got
aristocrat.
her consciousness shoved into an Asian lady's body, and the Asian lady was like an assassin. So they're now Freaky Friday, but they just undid that sort of, and so now after 25 years of
Something like that.
Psylocke being Asian, she is now white again, and it's just like, okay.
That was just weird when it happened because to me, back in the day, I was like, this is just some weird fetishistic thing happening here on the part of the creator. It's just like, we want to have this Asian woman, but we want to make her have like Caucasian aspects.
Right. She can't be a superhero on her own. She has to be the
or they can't
embodiment of
introduce a new Asian female character.
Right.
They've got, so.
Yeah. Anyway, look for X-Men Disassembled.
Yeah.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Because we're so positive.
Yay.
I'll sell it to you.
Exactly. If you
Read
want to
X-Men
buy it,
Grand
Chris will
Design.
take your money.
Yeah, exactly. Your money's
Grand
good.
design.
Speaking of them, we talked about, we mentioned Sonic the Hedgehog earlier today. Speaking of video games and comics colliding, there's a new app for all y'all with a Nintendo Switch called InkyPen, which I think is kind of a dumb name. But,
But you sure like saying it.
It's a subscription. It's a comics subscription service for your Nintendo Switch. And I don't have a Switch. I don't read comics digitally anyway. But this caught my attention because with the Nintendo Switch, you can either take your comic on the go or you can blast it to your TV, your big television, so you can watch comics on the big screen. Read a comic book on the big screen. Because who doesn't want to do that?
I mean, I think it's good because Nintendo is usually like an all-age platform, and it could be good to get young people excited about comics.
Some
It could be
exposure.
like families sharing and that kind of thing. It's another place for the medium to have exposure, so I think it's good in that regard.
Yeah.
I don't have a Switch, so I'm not going to personally use it. But I would be curious to see how it's laid out and all that sort of thing.
It would strike me as kind of neat, like if you were a teacher who was teaching a class that had comics, and then you can have it on your Switch if you have your Switch taking it to work, I don't know, and then you project it onto a larger screen, and you have your database right there. Like, that's kind of handy.
That's cool. Yeah.
So,
There is a. It doesn't say in this article what publishers they have access to. It's going to be $7.99 a month to subscribe for. But some of the comic franchises that will be available are Transformers, Judge Dredd, Dungeons and Dragons, the Meta Barons, and Warhammer.
Okay, so not a lot of kids things.
Oh.
so it looks
The
like they got
Meta-Barons.
like IDW and humanoids aboard,
Yeah.
but that's it.
All right.
Well,
So-
Transformers is good, but I guess our whole thing on like educators and young people just went right out the window.
So many classes are teaching the basics of Judge Dredd.
That's
know.
right, and the complexities of space operas and meta barons.
Yeah. So if you have a Nintendo Switch, look into that service, or don't. I'm not here to recommend or deny you anything.
We give you information. You are now informed. You make your own decision.
Exactly. So I didn't know this. Alan Moore had apparently retired.
He's always retired,
That's
and then he's
a
not.
silly headline.
He's done that a bunch of times, but also like he just published a new comic. So
Yeah. So anyway, there's a. I came across an article where the headline screamed, "Alan Moore steps out of retirement to feature in a brand new Grenfell fire-related comics anthology," which is a noble effort. The Grenfell Tower fire was a terrible disaster in England, and so this anthology, which is called 24 Panels, is it's an illustrative follow-up to 24 Stories, is going to be fundraising for survivors of the apartment fire. It's curated by Kieran Gillen too.
Yeah.
So if you haven't had enough Alan Moore in your life,
I feel like is Alan Moore stepping out of retirement is a euphemism for something else that he does in life.
It's
Because it's not stepping out of retirement. it must be something else.
He just had a break for a week. It's a prose piece. Isn't
It's like
it?
he stepped into the
Yeah.
kitchen or something. It's
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
He just popped off to the pub and came back.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm off to retire to the pub.
He walked down from his castle to the pub.
he retires every night, and people just think he means he's giving up the writing.
This is
Lost in
these
translation.
Literal-minded
That's
copywriters.
That's right. I think this anthology is also being published by Image. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Image has been doing a lot of those anthologies because unfortunately there's a
there's-
lot of tragedies.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's great they're doing it. Oh well,
Yeah,
no,
but
it's not great.
that-
Yeah.
yeah.
This stuff keeps happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so if you want to read some post-retirement Alan Moore, He says in quotes. Look for 24 panels coming from Image. And finally, a little news to what am I trying to say? Finally, a little news to brighten everybody's day.
To make us sad.
To make us sad.
Things
I'm
are
trying to be sarcastic here.
over.
Jonathan Hickman says that East of West will end with issue number 46, which is about 2 more volumes from now. About 8 more issues. East of West is a super popular title.
Does well for us.
Yeah.
It sucks, but at the same time, I'm glad he has an idea of how to finish something.
Yep.
I don't want a bunch of Image titles to just go on and on and on and lose all their momentum.
Right.
At the same time, we are getting a lot of our staples ending.
Yep.
I Hate Fairyland just ended.
Descender just ended. I mean, it'll start up again, but
Royal City just ended.
Descended.
descended.
Yeah,
It descended.
So there's going to be a certain point where and then with Saga taking a year-long break, that we're going to have a drought of Image titles that sell well. We're not going to have a drought of Image titles because they won't stop releasing things.
Yes.
But the staples that I know I can make money of, now we have to see what can step up.
Right.
So
Anyway, so yeah, East of West. I've read the first 3 trades or 4 trades that were loaned to me by the gentleman who's filming us tonight, Webster Polk.
Where did he go? Webster?
He's behind there
Probably
reading
off
comics.
Reading comics, yeah.
Benefits of the job. Anyway, so that is all the news that's fit to talk about this week. Let's move on to book report, everybody, and let's start with me.
You? What the heck?
I mentioned this the other day when we were talking about books in August of 2018 that you should read, and I picked up The Comic Book Story of Baseball, written by Alex Irvine with art by Tom Cocker and C.P. Smith. It's because I really like baseball. I'm a fan of the game. My Seattle Mariners are doing that thing they do every year, and they just decide to tank at the end of the season. And but I still watch them and I still root for them. So this was an interesting guide. I haven't finished it, but I think I get the gist of just basically the stories that you know and the stories that you don't know in baseball. They talk about like the obvious things. They talk, we talk about the rise of Babe Ruth, Ted Williams. The longest homer ever hit and stuff like that, and how Jackie Robinson came to be the first African American Major League Baseball player, even though he was not the first African American baseball player. He was just the first one to break into it, into the majors. I do have an issue with them calling this a comic book because it's more of an illustrated history, and it feels to me like it's just rotoscoped pictures, and I actually recognize the Illustrator plugins and effects that they use on some of the pictures. I'm like, oh yeah, I've used that effect before
From Adobe Suite?
from the Adobe Suite, yeah. But it's not like they just straight up did that. There's artistry going on here, but there are no strips. It's not sequential in the way that we think of comic books. I just read The Comic Book History of Comics, which did present the history in comic form. One panel went to the other panel, went to the other panel. This is I would like to call just an illustrated history. And but that doesn't it doesn't decline my enjoyment. What am I trying to say? It doesn't
Diminish it?
Diminish it. Thank you. It doesn't diminish my enjoyment out of it. It's nice to sit down and read about things like, oh, what's this common? Like, what was the dead ball era? I've always heard of the dead ball era, but I've never really knew what it was. Well, this will tell you exactly what that is.
I was going to ask, so did you learn new stuff from it?
I did. I have learned new stuff, and it's nice to have that the backfill to history, because I do listen to a lot of baseball broadcasts, and the announcers are very well informed about the history, and they bring up a lot of stuff. Of course, they have references in the internet in front of them, but they'll just bring up something, and I'm like, oh, what is that? Who is that? What was that? What did that mean? And then, obviously, you're not going to learn the entire history of baseball from this. From this 169-page book, but you will fill in your knowledge. So if you like the sport and you want to just learn about how it came to be America's pastime, pick up the comic book story of baseball, the heroes, hustlers, and history-making swings and misses of America's national pastime. And I'd like to tell you who the publisher is, but I can't find it. 10 Publishing? Anyway, that's my book report.
Excellent.
Thank you all. Nicole, let's move on to you.
So I finally got around to finishing the book Eartha. I read about half of it close to when it first came out, and I liked it, and then I didn't finish it. Okay, so Eartha is by Kathy Malkassian. She's done a bunch of other things. I think Wake Up Percy is another one. This is my first book that I've read by Kathy, though. And it follows a woman named Eartha. She is a tall, robust, very sweet, gentle person living in this world that is across the water from the big city. And in this world, in this town, the villagers take care of the city folks' dreams, like a farmer tends crops. And over time, they're noticing that the dreams are not coming around as much. And there's this strange dream where Eartha finds a young girl and a moon falls down and the moon says run. And she goes to one of the oldest people in the town who is an archivist. And it sends him like a message, like he knows why that dream is happening, and he sends her across to the city with the idea that he needs smoke sticks, not that she needs to solve any sort of mysteries at all. And I wouldn't say she's necessarily simple, but she's very like a straightforward, honest person, and everyone around her respects and trusts her. And since she's like very strong and powerful, she'll like hold people a lot of times. And so I think that she just believes people at face value. Like she doesn't have any reason to ever like mistrust anybody, because in this town, even though people might fight and stuff, they're still pretty transparent with each other about things. So she just takes him on his word, like he needs these smoke sticks or he's going to die. And she goes into the city, where she finds out that there's a lot of dismay happening in the city. And I don't know if I want to say more because I liked the journey of it. I hopefully if this catches your eye or your ear, depending on how you're viewing this, then I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's got this really beautiful pencil work, like colored pencil and beautiful tones. The characters are very sweet, and the story both has it does have a political message, but it's one that you kind of know, and it's not like hitting you over the head or anything like that. And it just works really well. It's beautifully done. It's emotionally evocative. It's really pretty. It's got talking cats in it, which I think is always a bonus. But if you want something that's just a really good self-contained story that's a little off the beaten path, I would definitely recommend checking out Eartha. It's a good size book. It's a landscape size, and it's $30. It is as much of an art piece as it is a piece of literature in its own way. So I really enjoyed finishing up this story. I loved the characters. There was a little mist, not like full tears, but there were feelings, which I always think is a nod of the hat to the writer for being able to create something that has me so immersed that I feel for the people who are in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nicole. Eartha. All righty. Chris Casso, what do you got, sir?
So a while back, we talked about a Kickstarter that IDW picked up called Femme Magnifique, and it's about 50 magnificent women who changed the world, and it's an anthology book by a plethora of different creators, and each one got to choose a woman from history that they wanted to just bring their attention to. And so the stories are all 3 pages long, and you run a range from some being a history from the point of view of the historical person, some just being the recollections of the writer or artist telling you why they're important to them, and so it's never consistent. You get a nice change of pace throughout the book, and you get a lot of fantastic creators such as Gail Simone, Karina Bechko, Maris Wicks, who did the Human Body Theater that I love. Kieran Gillen did Bjork. I'll actually say that was the most disappointing one for me. And to give you an idea of a range of subject matters, Bjork, let's see, Beth Ditto, Rosalind Franklin, Judith, Carrie Fisher, Ellen Armstrong, Harriet Tubman, Cindy Whitehead. So there's 204 pages, and just Hedy Lamarr by Gilbert Hernandez. You get a really interesting range of people in here. So as with any anthology, some of them are going to hit, some of them are not. I managed to read like 75% of this last night. It came out yesterday.
How long are the average?
3 pages each.
3 pages
Yep.
each.
It's a solid amount. One thing I do want to mention is that whoever is the designer, the layout designer, did a fantastic job of setting it up so that there's the perfect breaks. There's like 3 artists that screwed that up, and I'm mad at them. It's a minor thing, but it's like there's a certain point where you're just kind of like, I know because these are 3 pages each that's where one story ends and the other begins, but the one artist decided to be fancy and different, and it's just like, nope, there's a design to this. There's interesting bonus material. There's one thing that made me sad. There's Bill Sienkiewicz did some sketches of Nina Simone, which made me think that there should have been a Nina Simone in the book, and there wasn't. And I love Nina Simone, and Bill Sienkiewicz is great for that. But yeah, it is a huge project, and it is well put together. It's $30 for how many pages did I say? 204 pages of story and educational material. I learned a lot about people I never heard from and I learned a lot about people that I did know something about. There's here she is. Margaret Atwood. I only have the vaguest concept of who she is because of a couple of the comics coming out, and so
You've never read Handmaid's Tale?
Nope.
Oh my goodness, I have books for you.
Yeah,
They're called Handmaid's
I don't
Tale.
have time for that.
Yeah, they're calling.
So yeah,
You need to read Handmaid's Tale, dude.
yeah. So you learn lots of stuff. It's a great package. I highly recommend it.
Great, cool. Femme Magnifique. Thank you, Chris. And finally, Cole Hornaday, what do you got for us?
I have the first issue of The Return of the Fantastic Four. It is, let's see, it was written by Dan Slott and illustrated by Sarah Pichelli. There's two parts. There's the story that deals with, there's an introduction story that deals with Ben and Johnny, and then there's a backup story by Slott and Simone Bianchi about Doctor Doom. So I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm really excited about the Fantastic Four coming back.
Okay.
And there are a number of reasons. This was a surprisingly subtle and dramatic soft open for a Fantastic Four book. Mm-hmm. There are no fight scenes in this. It opens with Ben and Johnny dealing with their grief and loss over the rest of the family in their own way. Ben has resigned himself that Reed and Sue and the kids are gone and they're not coming back, whereas Johnny is certain that they will be coming back because, we always come back. And also, he's the one that died last time and came back, and we all had all kinds of, if you've been reading comic books long enough, particularly with Marvel Comics, nobody dies forever. But still, there was a lot of lovely drama to it because Ben is finally having an opportunity to get on with the life he's always wanted to get on with. And because I haven't read any other of the spin-off books, like I didn't read Marvel 2-in-1 that Nicole recommends quite often. Now she's making a nasty face at me because I'm a failure at life. So this was like a fresh return to me since the close of the Secret Wars stories. So, but yeah, it's a very soft, dramatic open. There are no fight scenes. There are no big splashy events. It's just Slott does what he does best, which is smaller scope stories about people. But you see that it's already humming with possibilities. And the other thing that I really appreciated about this book is that even though it was a last minute, even though Steve Steve Ditko died, they managed to get in a tribute to him, a 1, 2, 3, 4-page tribute in the front pages of the book and not the back, which I thought was really interesting. And giving him tribute and actually having an extensive discussion of his work and showing the panels, and then you go into the Fantastic Four story. I've always felt that the Fantastic Four were my friends, probably more so than the X-Men. And I've not been a hardcore Fantastic Four fan, but I've always read it. I will pick it up and I'll put it down, pick up and put it down. I'm not so obsessive compulsive about the Fantastic Four as I have been about other superhero books in the past, because I always felt like I could pick up with the Fantastic Four where I left off. And that's what's happening now. And, we had all kinds of, conspiracy theories about why the book got canceled and, relating to the movies and that sort of thing. And Chris and I had heated debates where we had our fingernails at each other's throats about, whether it was just the fact that the book needed to be canceled because it was time for it to take a rest, and our friendship was on the rocks for a long time. We didn't talk. I'm being dramatic. And Chris was right. I hate that.
You get used to it.
But this was the return to this book. It's a really mature approach to this story. And I am really excited about where this book's going to go now, because it is about family. And they do try to do a little bit of a reassessment of, Johnny's got this whole speech about, well, they used to call us Imaginauts and they used to call us superheroes, but we're not. When it all comes down to it, we're just family. We're just family.
Are you Keanu Reeves?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I've always thought that he sounded a bit like, yeah, flame on. Oh
my God.
Did you like the second story?
I love the second story, the backup with the Doctor Doom story. It has a return to the feel of the stuff that I enjoyed over the years, but it also has a fresh feel to it. So I am looking forward to reading this series on an ongoing basis.
Cool. Thank you, Cole. Fantastic Four. I know it said it's listed as number 1, so Marvel is not going with legacy numbers for that?
If you look underneath number 1, it says LGY 646.
Ah.
So yes and no, Ben.
Real tiny print.
Yes and no.
All right, cool. Thank you, Cole. Well, that is Book Report, and that is our show. Coming up is quiz time. But before we go, I want to tell you that the Perfect Bound podcast is brought to you by The Panel Jumper. See everything Cole Hornaday and I do at thepaneljumper.com, as well as Comic Extension here at 319 Northeast 45th Street in beautiful downtown Wallingford, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at comicextension.com. Subscribe to the show on iTunes or however you get your podcasts at perfectboundpodcast.com. Send us an email, perfectboundpodcast@gmail.com, and our friends get your quiz hats on. It's quiz time. This week the questions come to us from me.
What?
And I have to reach around to get my piece of paper with the questions on it. Okay. Here we go. Because some video games just aren't interactive enough or contain adequate storytelling, a certain few have been adapted for comic books. Here are 5 questions about comic books based on video games. Number 1, published in 2009, Modern Warfare 2 Ghost was a 6-part miniseries from Storm Publishing, written by David Laffin with art by Kevin West, and was based on this very popular first-person shooter franchise.
Halo? I don't know.
I don't play
The answer is Call of Duty.
Yeah, the duty one.
Number 2, the duty one. Number 2, this third-person shooter game from Microsoft Studios gave life to a comic series published under DC's Wildstorm imprint from 2008 to 2012. Written by Joshua Ortega, this series focuses on the conflict between humanity on the Earth-like planet Serra, the subterranean reptilian hominids known as the Locust Horde, and their mutated counterparts, the Lambent and the Swarm.
Gears of War?
It is Gears of War. Number 3, Fall of Reach Escalation and Collateral Damage are just a few of the stories published by Dark Horse, based on this video game that follows the exploits of the main protagonist, Master Chief, his squad of super soldiers, and their AI assistant Cortana as they battle an alliance of aliens known as the Covenant.
Like I said, Halo.
Halo! Number 4.
If it was about Master Chef, I'd play that.
Yeah.
That's confused me for years.
The original trilogy of this video game series largely revolves around a soldier named Commander Shepard, whose mission is to save the galaxy from a race of powerful mechanical beings known as the Reapers and their agents. The subsequent comic series, published by Dark Horse, is marketed as various limited series for each story. As the game is considered to be the player's story, none of the comics feature Commander Shepard as the main character.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect is the correct answer. And finally, number 5. Producing 290 issues for over 20 years, this video game comic mainstay from Archie Comics in partnership with Sega tells the story of a blue bipedal mammal with running shoes on the planet Mobius as he and his gang of freedom fighters look to overthrow the tyrant Dr. Robotnik.
Sonic the
Hedgehog is the correct answer. That is quiz time, and that is our show. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.